Hello everyone and welcome to Fight Night Legends Top 3 Decks. In this series, we follow Fight Night Legends each and every single week. We look at the top performing decks, most popular, and decks to watch of the most recent Fight Night Legends. Before we get into the video, take a second to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to stay up to date on all of our Legends of Runeterra content. Check out the links in the description to find our social media pages. We've got a lot of folks working behind the scenes to keep the content flowing and to allow for our weekly Runeterra tournaments. Fight Night Legends is a 2-deck no-ban format. Each Friday, 8 players from the America Shard and 8 players from the European server are invited to play. If a player manages to get a first or second place in any given fight night, they'll be invited back next week for the chance to prove themselves once again. This week in the Americas, majinbae was utterly unstoppable. His lineup of Trundle Lissandro Ledros Control, or TLLC, along with TF Aphelios was exactly what the doctor ordered to take down this fight night. Henneke managed a second place, riding the winner's bracket the whole day, only to fall at the hands of majinbae in a bracket reset. Henneke would end up bringing TF Fizz and Diana Aphelios, and it seems as though Henneke was not too interested in messing around with new strategies this week. Both players will of course return next week to once again prove their grit. As for EU, Ultraman would end up once again taking down another Fight Night belt with concurrent timelines OTK and Fiora Shen by his side. Kobachi would follow shortly behind with TLLC and Fiora Shen as his decks of choice. Seems to be quite the trend in EU for players to bring Fiora Shen and have success, while that strategy doesn't really find the same popularity in the Americas. Our number 3 deck this week is Fiora Shen. Seems like this strategy keeps showing up week to week, as Fiora Shen is an absolute classic. The strategy is great at fighting for the board and has stops to various enemy effects. This week, the strategy was entirely absent from the Americas, however, EU was completely a different story. The strategy was taken by 3 players in Europe and managed to finish 1st, 2nd, and 4th place. While the highest placing Fiora Shen players this week brought more traditional builds of the strategy, Pepsi-Cola experimented with some new cards. Most notably, Golden Aegis, which provides Fiora Shen a solid alternative to Relentless Pursuit. The 2 cards are functionally very similar, however, Golden Aegis does have a bit of extra synergy with the strategy, very well may find itself becoming a staple of the archetype. One of the wildest strategies to ever grace the eyes of Fight Night spectators, Concurrent Timelines OTK finds itself the number 2 slot of this week's Fight Night top decks. Concurrent Timelines OTK is a Shadow Isles P&Z deck with one main goal in mind: resolve concurrent timelines, which will cause the first played follower each turn to transform into another follower of equal mana cost. While this effect may seem odd at first, you must take into account how this can impact the game. The deck's main kill condition is to play Commander Ledros once concurrent timelines has been resolved. There are only 5 other units Commander Ledros can turn into, giving you solid odds at finding the Dreadway. With the Blade of Ledros on the stack and the Dreadway in play, this will often set up an instant kill that many strategies simply cannot fend off. Topping off our top decks this week is an updated version of the classic Trundle Ledros Control, or TLC. The deck has now been renamed to include Lissandra in its namesake and is now called TLLC. Traditionally, this is a ramp strategy that aims to set up Commander Ledros plus Atrocity kill as soon and safely as possible. With the addition of Lissandra and Blighted Ravine to the deck, the strategy has become significantly safer in the early game. Lissandra provides a solid early game body that can survive avalanche effects with no problems. She can also set you up for the endgame win, as the Frostguard Thrall she summons is excellent for pressuring the opponent in the endgame, either through combat or alongside Atrocity. Lissandra's impact on this strategy cannot be understated. She's an excellent early game tool while providing late game utility as well. If she manages to level up and sit in play, she'll give your Nexus tough, making it even more resilient. Finally, the Watcher she creates in hand does provide the archetype even further endgame closing potential, though the Watcher will often not get this opportunity. The first fight night after a new expansion is always a blast. Players often bring in new and experimental strategies. We definitely saw this during this week. It will be fascinating to see which of these strategies will stand the test of time. Even more interesting will be to see which and how some of the underutilized champions in the format will find a way to prove themselves as contenders. Let us know in the comments section below which deck you are most excited to see at this week's Fight Night Legends events. Thank you for watching, and if you're enjoying our content, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe for future Giant Slayer LoR videos.